Good day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this final lecture of the Cricket South Africa Level 1 umpiring course hosted by Western Province Cricket Umpires Association. My name is Abdullah Steenkamp and my usual batting partner for this evening is Tom Mokarosi. The format of tonight's lecture is as follows. I will kick off with some revision slides. After I've gone through those revision slides, I'll hand over to Tom. Tom will then take you through some exam logistics that includes an online, um, we'll show you online how the exam works, as well as after that, we will then go through the questions in the chat box and then we will open the floor for question and answers. So to kick off the revision slides, starting with the players. So the law is flexible when it comes to the number of players. Usually, the game is played between two sides, each of 11 players. But by agreement, the match can be played by between sides of more than 11 or even fewer than 11 players. But the condition is if you are playing a game that has more than 11 players in the side, you're only allowed to field 11 players at any given time. So if you are playing a trial game and you allow 15 players aside, you're not allowed to field all 15 of them at once. The max of 11 fielders on the field at any given time. When it comes to the nomination of players and whether the law allows us to replace a player, nomination needs to be done by the captains and they need to nominate their players in writing. And they need to hand their players in writing to the umpires before the toss. On the right is an example of a team sheet that we use for club cricket here in Cape Town, South Africa. We, the umpires, will hand this to the captains. They then need to complete this and hand it to us either before the toss takes place or latest they need to give it to us at the toss. Does the law allow a player to be changed after the nomination? Yes, the law allows for a player to be changed, but there is one condition. We need the consent of the opposing captain. This is not for umpires to decide whether a player can be changed or not after the nomination. The opposing captain needs to give permission whether the player can be changed or not. And if the captain says yes, no issue, then you can replace the player. And if no consent is given, then unfortunately that player can not be replaced. And after permission is given, player that's being replaced, we need to inform the umpires and also the scorers. Law 2, umpires. And here we're going to focus on only a few subsections. And the first subsection is that umpires, preferably two to be appointed to a game, and they need to be at the ground at least 45 minutes before play is about to start. So if play is starting at 10 o'clock, at least 9:15 a.m. umpires needs to be at the field. Does the law allow an umpire to be changed? Yes, of course, because an umpire can become injured or ill, or there might be exceptional circumstances that the umpire needs to be changed. And if there is to be a change of umpire, There's a condition that goes with it. The replacement umpire can only stand at the striker's end. But there is a but, unless both captains, and the emphasis on both captains needs to agree that this replacement umpire can take full responsibility as an umpire in the game. Who are the judges of fair and unfair play? Do you think it's the captains, coaches, players, umpires? We are the sole judges of whether anything is fair or unfair. When it comes to the fitness of play, who decides on the fitness of play? Again, do you think it's captains, coaches? Again, the law is clear. It's for the umpires, solely for them, and they together needs to agree whether conditions of, it can be ground, can be weather, light, or exceptional circumstances, mean that conditions are now either dangerous or unreasonable for play to take place. Sometimes the grass might be slightly wet. You have a bit of dew on the, on the outfield. The law guides us and say if it is a bit wet, this doesn't necessarily warrant conditions to be either dangerous or unreasonable. The law also guides us in terms of the definition of dangerous. They tell us conditions are dangerous if we, the umpires, feel that there is a risk to the safety of any of the players or the umpires. What is the definition of unreasonable? Conditions will be unreasonable even if it poses no risk to safety. It will make no sense for play to continue. An example, a dust storm. No one is endangered, none of the players or umpires. If it's a light dust storm, lots of sand blowing in your eyes or ears. But obviously, so with sand in your eyes and up your nose, players coughing, umpires coughing, it wouldn't be sensible for play to continue. And the law sees that as an example of play being reasonable. Umpires, they need to consider whether the ground is fit to play. The law guides us and gives us certain criteria that we need to take into account when doing our inspection in terms of the ground. So is the ground so slippery or wet and it deprives the bowler of reasonable foothold? Another condition is players needs to be able to move freely. Batters needs to be able to play these strokes, run between wickets freely as well. If these are not the case, then conditions to be seen as dangerous or unreasonable and play not to take place. So what happens if we, the umpires, now decided that we together agree that conditions of ground, weather or light is now either dangerous or unreasonable? Once we together come to that agreement, we need to immediately either suspend play or allow play to not start or to recommence. But according to law, and emphasis on law, if play is in progress and umpires do not agree on conditions, they need to immediately stop playing. So in an example of this, late afternoon, lots of cloud around, it's getting a bit dark. Two umpires look at each other. One umpire says, I think the light is good enough. I think we can continue. The other umpire feels, I think it's too dark. I think conditions are dangerous. I think we need to go off. So because there's no agreement, we need to suspend play. We need to go off. But again, this is as per the laws of cricket. Where does the umpire stand? Can they stand anywhere on the field? Firstly, law tell us you, the umpire, need to stand where you can see best when needing to make a decision. But they also guide us in terms of where the bowler's in umpire needs to stand and where the striker's umpire needs to stand. Let's start with the bowler's in umpire. Bowler's in umpire to stand in such a position as not to interfere with either the striker's view or the bowler's run up. And that best position is to stand directly behind the stumps for the bowler's end. There's no exact science in terms of how far you need to stand behind the stumps. Can be a meter, a meter and a half, 2 meters, as long as you in such a position as to not block the bowler's run up or the striker's view, and you can make a decision um, as best required. Like you should not be standing too close to the stumps or right on the stumps, going to struggle to pick up the front foot nobles or even back foot nobles. Also, you should not be standing too far behind the stumps where you won't be able to see the front foot landing on the popping crease or able to hear a batter hits the ball. When it comes to the strikers in umpire, so where does the strikers in umpire needs to stand? 99% of the time, law tell us, strikers in umpire, please, you need to stand on the onside or on the leg side of the pitch. So whether it's a right-handed batter or a left-handed batter, strikers in umpire needs to stand on the onside of the pitch. So that is 99% of the time. But the law is flexible. The law recognizes that there might be times where it's best for the strikers in umpire to stand on the offside. One or two examples of this you'll find often late in the day, the late setting sun might be in your eyes. Another example, there might be fielders on the leg side blocking your view of either the popping crease or maybe the stumps. So in this case, best position then would be to move over to the offside. But the law allows for that. So who do you inform if you are going to move over to the offside? Please inform the captain of the fielding side that you're moving over. Inform the striker and inform your colleague that you are now going to stand on the offside instead of the leg side. These are the only three individuals that you need to inform when you do decide to move over from the onside to the offside. When it comes to the scorers, let's look at duties of the scorers, and they start with appointment. Preferably two scorers to be appointed to any game, and they need to sit next to each other. And point two, emphasize the reason why they need to sit next to each other. And what do the scorers do? Three duties. Scorers, they need to record all runs that are scored in the game. They need to record all wickets taken in the game. And also, they need to record the number of overs that are bowled. These are the only three duties that scorers needs to do. Things like injuries to players as an example. Those timings, umpires will record those. Scorers don't need to worry of those. They will inform the scorers at the next interval or after the day's play. But all scorers need to do is runs, wickets taken, number of overs bowled. That's all they need to record. I mentioned earlier scorers need to sit next to each other. And this is the reason, because scorers needs to frequently check their scores. And if they're not sitting next to each other, it is a recipe for that scores will not tie up. So frequently, please check your scores. Umpires, we will double check with the scorers at every interval other than the drinks interval and at the conclusion of the match, just to make sure. Scorers, Your scores, do they tie up? Yes, umpies, we're happy. Our score, our records tie up. We will confirm that with the scorers. And there are occasions where of a single ball, there are more than one signal. Scorers needs to acknowledge every signal given to them by the umpires. And if there are more than one signal, umpires will signal them separately, and scorers needs to acknowledge them separately. When it comes to the ball, a slight change to the law, and this will be effective October 2026. The law now distinguishes between three types of balls. When it comes to a size 1 ball, and these are used for mainly for men's cricket. When it comes to the weight, not less than 156 grams and not more than 163 grams. Circumference 22.4 centimeters, not more, not less, and not more than 22.9. Size 2 balls. These are mainly used for women's cricket. They also have a min or max, min of 142 grams, max of 149, and the circumference min of 21.5 and max of 22.5. And now for junior cricket, size 3 balls. Min of 133, max of 140, and the circumference min of 20.5 centimeters and max of 21 centimeters. When it comes to the bat and the sizes, let's start with the overall length of the bat, not more than 96.52 centimeters. It can be less, but can definitely, in terms of the overall length, and that includes the handle and the blade, not more than 96.52 centimeters. We also have dimensions for the blade of the bat, and they shall not be more than, when it comes to the width, 10.8 centimeters, the depth 6.7 centimeters, and lastly, the edges do not be more than 4 centimeters. And how do we check this? Especially you'll find this at international and provincial levels. The umpires they have bat gauges, and they'll see if the bat can go through the bat gauge. If it goes through the bat gauge, it's legal. If it doesn't go through the bat gauge, then it is not legal. Also, the lawmakers have now categorized bats. They start with type A bats, where they say type A bats to be used at any level of cricket. Type A and B bats, no covering on it. Type C and type D bats may have cloth covering on the blade. Type D bats, the law allows for those bats to be laminated, and they can be colored. And these type D bats, they use at lower levels of the game. Comes to the creases, I'm giving you 3 points or 10 free points in the exams. You need to know your creases. You need to know all the various measurements. So let's go through let's start with the names of those creases, and then we'll go to the measurement of those creases. Let's look at the diagram on the right hand side. There are 3 creases. Let's start with the crease where the stumps are in. That's called the bowling crease. The front crease where the batters usually stand on, that is the popping crease. And then there are 2 return creases. So again, just to recap those names, popping crease, and this is the front, the one where the batters usually stand on. The bowling crease, that's where you'll find the stumps in, and these 3 dots here, that indicates the stumps, so that's the bowling crease. And then there are 2 return creases. Let's start with let's go on with the measurements of these creases. Let's start with the popping crease. There is a minimum measurement for the popping crease of 3.66 meters or 12 feet. I prefer to use the metric system. Tape measurements in South Africa, not sure about other countries, but I know in South Africa, tape measurements are in metric, in meters. So that's why I prefer to memorize the meters. So popping crease, minimum length of 3.66 meters. It can be longer, but all the law tells us is please make sure that that popping crease is a minimum length of 3.66 meters. Let's move on to the two return creases. Here also a minimum length of 2.44 meters. They can be longer, but all the law tells us is minimum length of 2.44 meters. So there are two return creases. So this one here, minimum length of 2.44, and the other return crease, minimum length of 2.44 meters. And then lastly, in terms of the creases, there's the bowling crease. And here there is an exact measurement for the bowling crease. And that exact measurement is 2.64 meters. And it's measured from, if you can see where the arrow is pointing, the inside edge of the one return crease. That's where you'll put the one end of your measuring tape. And you'll take it up until the inside edge of the other return crease. And that needs to be 2.64 meters. Some other measurements, the stumps width 22.86 centimeters, and another very important measurement is the measurement from the bowling crease up until the popping crease, and that exact measurement needs to be 1.22 meters. And how do you measure it? From the back edge of your bowling crease up until the back edge of the popping crease. You can see where the arrows are pointing. That measurement from back edge of the bowling crease till back edge of the popping crease needs to be 1.22 meters. So for me, this 1.22 meters measurement is important because why? From this measurement, I can derive two other measurements. If you take 1.22 meters and you multiply it by 2, what do you get? 1.22 meters multiplied by 2 is 2.44 meters. And what measurement is 2.44? The return crease measurement. So that's the one measurement I can derive from 1.22. The other one is, if you take 1.22 meters and you multiply it by 3, what measurement do you get? You get 3.66 meters. And that is the minimum measurement of the return crease, of the popping crease. So just from this one measurement, I can derive two other measurements. So I make sure that I memorize 1.22 meters, because multiply by 2 gives me 2.44. That's my return crease. Multiply by 3 is 3.66. And that gives me my popping crease. And lastly, the length of the pitch is 20.12 meters. When it comes to the preparation and the maintenance of the playing area, the subsection we're going to focus on is the rolling of the pitch. So now after the game has started, when can the pitch then be rolled and for how long can it be rolled? Let's first look at after the game has started, when the pitch can be rolled. Only on two instances. Firstly, before the start of each subsequent innings, pitch can be rolled. And secondly, before the start of each subsequent day's play, the pitch can be rolled. So now we know when. Let's have a look at how long this rolling to take place. Not more than 7 minutes. So 7 minutes is the max rolling allowed. So can you roll for 7 minutes? Yes. Can you roll for 6 minutes? Yes. Can you roll for 5 minutes? Definitely. Can 1 minute of rolling take place? Of course, if the batting captains want 1 minute of rolling, no problem. Can they roll for 8 minutes? Definitely not. Why? Because the max is 7 minutes. So usually, practically, what happens? If I can just give you practically how the umpires handle each of these situations when it comes to rolling after the game has started. Before I get there, let me just take you to the next slide. So usually at international level, at those stadiums, you usually find three rollers available. On the top left is like a hand roller, a push roller. Bottom left is, let's call it a medium roller. And then on the right hand side, that's your big or heavy roller. So what happens? Usually happens, and let's go to before the start of each subsequent innings. Let's take our test match between South Africa and let's say Sri Lanka. So South Africa wins the toss, bats first, game starts at 10 o'clock. Let's say midway through day one, South Africa is dismissed for, let's say, 250. Now it's time for Sri Lanka to go bat. So what will practically happen is, as soon as South Africa is dismissed, the on-field umpires will ask the captain of Sri Lanka, Cappy, do you want rolling? If yes, please tell me which roller do you want? And then also how long you want this rolling to happen. Sri Lankan captain will say, yes, Ampi, please may I have the big roller? And I want 7 minutes of rolling. We, the on-field umpires, will relay that message to the fourth umpire. The fourth umpire will in turn inform the curator, and the fourth umpire will supervise this rolling. Same procedure will be followed when South Africa go bat in their second innings. We will ask the captain of South Africa, do you want rolling? If yes, which roller and for how long? And if let's say the South African captain say, Ampi, I want 5 minutes of rolling and I want the medium roller, no problem. We'll inform the fourth umpire to inform the curator to roll for 5 minutes and using the medium roller. The second instance that I mentioned, when rolling to be allowed, start of each subsequent day's play. There's a window period for this rolling to happen. So the window period for rolling between the innings, there's a 10-minute change of innings, so that's where that rolling will take place. But when it comes to rolling before the start of each day's play, there's a 20-minute window period for that rolling to happen. So if, let's say, day 2 starts at 10 o'clock, any time between 9:30 and 9:50, rolling before the day to take place. So practically what will happen? The fourth umpire will, on the morning of day 2, go to the batting captain, whoever's batting on the morning of day 2. The fourth umpire will go to that captain, ask the captain, Cappy, do you want rolling? If yes, how long you want and which roller? Let's say the captain say, Umpy, I want only the hand roller for 4 minutes. The fourth umpire will relay that info to the curator, and the fourth umpire will supervise 4 minutes of rolling using the hand roller. When it comes to interval, there are 5 examples of scheduled intervals. Scheduled intervals are intervals that are decided, and they're usually decided by the governing body of cricket for that competition before the game starts. Let's look at the first example of a scheduled interval. So period between close of play on day 1 and the start of the next day's play, that is seen in the law as a scheduled interval. So play on day 1, let's say, ends at 5 and it will start on day 2 at 10 o'clock in the morning. So between 5 p.m. and 10 a.m., the law sees that as a scheduled interval. Our 10-minute interval between innings, scheduled interval. Our interval for lunch or our interval for meals, seen in the law as a scheduled interval. Our interval for drinks, scheduled interval according to the law. And lastly, any agreed interval before the game starts, that's also seen as a scheduled interval as per the laws. I've just mentioned that the governing body usually decides how long these intervals to be. All the law tells us is whatever the governing body decided in terms of the length of these intervals, we, the umpires, we need to make sure that the players enjoy the agreed length. An example, let's say lunch in our test match is 12 o'clock. Lunch is 40 minutes, as was decided by the International Cricket Council that governs international cricket. So if we take lunch at 12 o'clock, first ball after lunch needs to be bowled at exactly 12:40. So if we take lunch at 12:02, first ball after lunch needs to be bowled exactly 40 minutes later, which is 12:42. I mentioned earlier about the 10 minutes time length for the interval between innings. Law is flexible when it comes to changing your times for your intervals. There are flexibility when it comes to our lunch interval. There's also flexibility when it comes to our tea interval. Let's look at what flexibility the lawmakers brought into our tea interval. And this flexibility is there for us to try to maximize play in the day. So, firstly, if an innings ends 30 minutes or less before tea time, we will take tea immediately. We will then include the 10-minute change of innings into our tea interval. So let's say if tea is at 3 o'clock and South Africa's dismissed at 14:40, because the innings ended less than 30 minutes to go till tea, we will take tea immediately. So tea will be from 14:40 till 1500 hours. More flexibility when it comes to our tea interval. If we get to 30 minutes to go to tea and we already have a change of innings interval in progress, play will resume at the end of our 10-minute change of innings interval. Example just to illustrate how the theory works. Let's say tea is at 3 o'clock and South Africa was dismissed at 14:25. So 14:25 is 35 minutes to go till tea. So because it's 35 minutes to go till tea, we cannot take an early tea because it's 35 minutes to go. It needs to be 30 or less. So now at 14:25, we need to take a 10-minute change of innings interval. So from 14:25 till 14:35 will be the 10-minute change of innings interval. First ball to Sri Lanka will be bowled at 14:35, and we will take tea at normal time, which is 1500 hours. More flexibility when it comes to our lunch and our tea interval. If a side is 9 wickets down when we get to either our lunch or our tea interval, but they must be 9 down for you to activate this clause. So if they are 9 down, the lawmakers said to us that we will not take either lunch or tea if a side is 9 down, 9 down at the time of our lunch or our tea interval. We can delay, or we need to play an additional 30 minutes maximum to see if the fielding side can take that last wicket in that 30 minutes. If they can, we'll take lunch when that wicket is taken. If they're not able to take it within that 30 minutes, we will take lunch after 30 minutes. So that's the theory. Let's give you a quick example just to illustrate how this theory works. And I'll use lunch as an example, but the same principle will apply to tea. So our lunch is 12 o'clock. We get to 12 o'clock, the final ball of the over is bowled, and South Africa is 250 for 9. So do we take lunch? The law tells us no, we will not take lunch. Why? I mean, we've reached 12 o'clock, but because South Africa is 9 down, and the emphasis on 9 down, they need to be 9 down. Because they're 9 down, we will not take lunch. We will extend the session by a max of 30 minutes. So in scenario 1, we get to 12, we will play on. So let's say at 12:10, so Sri Lanka takes the 10th South African wicket. So now we'll take lunch at 12:10. Lunch will be 40 minutes, and first ball after lunch to be bowled at 12:50. Scenario 2, we got to lunch. South Africa 250 for 9. We now know the law tells us we need to continue playing for a max of 30 minutes. So now we get to 12:30, and South Africa is still 9 down. Sri Lanka could not get the final wicket. We only allowed a max of 30 minutes additional time. So when we get to 12:30, and if it is the end of the over, umpires will now call over time and lunch. We'll take lunch at 12:30. Lunch to be 40 minutes from 12:30 till 13:10. When it comes to our interval for drinks, law guides us. Drinks to not be more than 5 minutes. And also flexibility when it comes to our drinks interval. If a wicket falls or a batter retires within 5 minutes of drinks, we will take drinks immediately. But the wicket or the batter retiring must be within 5 minutes. So if drinks is at 11 o'clock and a wicket falls 10:56, we'll take drinks at 10:56. But if a wicket falls at 10:54, this is now 6 minutes to go to drinks. We will not take drinks at 10:54 because it's not within 5 minutes. We will allow the other batter to come in to face the remainder of the over, and if need be, we'll play up until 11 o'clock. When it comes to the start of play and the cessation of play, so how do we start a cricket game? For those of you that watch football, football is easy. The ref blowing his or her whistle, that indicates the start of the game and the end of the game as well. So how do umpires start the game? The bowler's end umpire starts play. So at the start of the game, or after we come back from any interval, or we come back from a rain interruption, umpires won't blow a whistle. We indicate the start of the game or a starter after any interval by verbally calling out play. You call it out loudly, and that call of play indicates to the fielders and the batters that play is now about to start. How do we end the game, or how do we end a session? By calling time. Again, we'll verbally call it out. We call out time, and this call of time indicates that the session is now at an end, the day is now at an end, or the match is now at an end. The law wants, when we get to an interval and we're still mid over, the law wants that over to first to be completed. You cannot stop mid over and say, I think we now need to go for lunch. First complete the over, then you take the interval. I'll give you an example. We get to 12 o'clock and the bowlers bowled the fourth ball of the over. Umpire look at the watch and they see it's exactly 12 o'clock. And we know lunch is at 12 o'clock. Do we say, players, it's lunch now, I'm hungry, let's go off? No, the law tells us, please first complete that over. There's still 2 balls left. Complete that 2 balls. Then you take your lunch. There is an exception, and what is that exception? That exception is, usually we'll first complete the over, but in a case where with less than 3 minutes to go to the interval, either a batter is dismissed or a batter retires, we will take lunch immediately. That's the theory. Just to give you an example how the theory works, our lunch is at 12 o'clock. Let's say at 11:58, Sri Lanka loses their third wicket. So it's now 11:58 and a wicket fell. Do we take lunch? Don't we take lunch? It's still 2 minutes to go, and we know we must take lunch at 12 o'clock. But this is where this 12.5.2 comes in, where the law tells us if a wicket falls with less than 3 minutes to go, and in my example, we have 2 minutes to go to lunch, in that case, we will take lunch immediately. So with the wicket falling at 11:58, and because it's less than 3 minutes, we'll take lunch at 11:58. Lunch will be 40 minutes. So first ball after lunch to be bowled at 12:38. When it comes to the innings, and here we're going to focus on when an innings is completed. The law tells us a side's innings is completed as soon as the side is all out. Side innings is completed when a wicket falls or a batter retires and there are still balls to be bowled, but there's no more batters to come in. As soon as the batting captain declares the innings close, the side's innings is completed. Captain forfeits a side's innings. The law sees as a side innings being completed. There are flexibility in the law where the law allows innings to be a certain number of overs or a certain number of time. As soon as the certain number of overs are reached, let's say they agreed to 60 overs max for the first innings. As soon as you get to 60 overs, the side's innings is completed. Or captains agree before the game that the first innings there will be a time for it. Let's say 3 hours. As soon as we get to 3 hours, the 3 hours is done, innings is completed. When it comes to the toss, who needs to be at the toss? Where does the toss take place? And what are the timings of the toss? Let's first look at who needs to be there. Both captains needs to be there, non-negotiable. We need both of them at the toss. Who else needs to be there? Preferably both umpires, but in the event that there's only one umpire available, the law allows for only one umpire to be there. But at least there needs to be one umpire. Preferably both, but at least one. So now we know both captains needs to be there and at least one umpire. Where does the toss take place? Anywhere on the field of play, according to the law. So where is anywhere on the field of play? As soon as you put your foot across the boundary rope, that's on the field of play. So according to the law, the toss can actually take place on the inside the field of play, just across the boundary rope. But we all know customary, and it's been so for centuries now. Toss usually takes place right next to the match pitch, but that's customary. But according to law, anywhere on the field of play. What are the timings of the toss? There's a 15-minute window period. 15 for the toss to take place. And that 15-minute window period, if I can use an example to illustrate it, let's say our test match between South Africa and Sri Lanka starts at 10 o'clock on day one. Toss to take place any time between 9:30 and 9:45. So toss can take place at 9:30, can take place at 9:33, also 9:35, 9:40 toss can take place. But as long as if it is within that 15-minute, emphasis on 15 minutes window period. So anytime between 9:30 and 9:45. Then law also tells us, as soon as the toss is done, whoever wins the toss, the captain to notify the other captain whether he or she is going to bat or bowl. They cannot tell you, Umpy, just give me a second. I first want to discuss this with my coach and captain. You'll tell that captain, no, you need to tell us now. You needed to have that discussion before coming to the toss. So that decision needs to be done immediately, and the opposing captain to be informed immediately. And once the decision has been made, cannot be changed afterwards. In cricket, there is this concept of the follow-on. So what is this concept of follow-on in cricket? In a 2-innings match of 5 days or more, and the side that batted first, they lead by at least 200 runs. They have the option of asking the other side to go bat again. The option is on the table. They don't have to exercise that option, but that captain do have the option of saying, yes, umpires, I want the other side to go bat again, or no, umpires, I want to go bat again in my second inning. So, no problem. Captain do have the option. Not all matches spans over 5 days. There are some matches that are either 3 or 4 days. So in terms of what the minimum lead or the lead needs to be in a 3 or 4 day game, to enforce the follow on, that number is 150 in a 3 or 4 day game. If it's a 2 day match, the lead needs to be at least 100 runs. And if we play a 2 innings match on 1 day, there the lead needs to be at least 75 runs. And again, as soon as the captain, they need to decide whether they're going to enforce the follow on or not. And if they do decide, yes, Umpy, I'm going to enforce the follow on, as soon as they decide this, we will inform the opposing captain, and then that decision cannot be changed. If we do lose the first day of play, an emphasis on first days of play that is lost. If that is the case, the no play took place on day number 1, and we only start on day number 2. Now we need to look at the remaining days in terms of how the follow on will now work. That's the theory. Let me just give you an example how this theory works. Let's go to our test match between South Africa and Sri Lanka, 5-day test match. So on day 1, the whole of day 1 is rained out. Not a single ball is bowled on day 1. We get to day 2, it is nice and sunny. So we start on time, 10 o'clock on day number 2. So now before play starts, captains come to you and say, Umpis, in terms of the follow on, how will it now work? We lost the whole of day 1, so there are now technically only 4 days left in this test match. We will inform the captains that in terms of the follow on, because we lost the whole of day 1, it's now a 4-day test match. So now the lead needs to be at least 150 runs for the captain to have the option to enforce the follow on. But again, emphasis on you must lose the whole of day 1 for this to happen. When it comes to declaration and forfeitures, the law allows for that. Let's first focus on declaration. Who can declare an innings close? Only the batting captain can declare an innings close. And when can they do it? They first need to wait for the ball to be dead, and as soon as the ball is dead, if they feel like, I think we have enough runs on the board, batting captain has the option to declare. A change to the laws this year, captain can declare an innings anytime when the ball is dead, except for the final innings of the match. When it comes to the forfeiture of an innings, again also cannot forfeit your final innings, but a captain can forfeit either of these side innings. It needs to be done before the commencement of that innings. And as soon as a captain decides, Umpy, I'm going to declare, or Umpy, I'm going to forfeit my side's innings, they'll inform the umpires and they'll inform the opposing captain, and as soon as that decision is made, it then cannot be changed afterwards. When it comes to the over, currently, number of balls allowed in the over as per the laws is 6, and all overs needs to be bowled from each end alternately. When does an over start? Over starts as soon as the bowler begins his or her run up. As soon as that bowler takes his or her first step, that over has started. Some bowlers may not have a run up. When does the over then start? As soon as that back foot lands for that first delivery, that is when the over starts. When it comes to the result, I'm only going to focus on one subsection here, and that subsection is the statement of results. So how would you state a result after the game has now ended? So when it comes to the side that batted last and they win the match, they score the winning runs and they didn't lose all their wickets, now the result will be stated as win by a number of wickets still to fall. If you look at the example, West Indies versus India, West Indies scored 195 and India chased it down and they got to 199 for the loss of 5 wickets.
So now in the scorebook, the result will be shown as follows. India won by 5 wickets. So if the fielding side wins the match, the result will be then stated as by the number of runs that you win the game. So here, this example, Pakistan scored 212 and they dismissed Sri Lanka, or Sri Lanka, after 20 overs were bowled, only got to 207. So the result will be stated as Pakistan winning this game by 5 runs. When it comes to scoring runs, deliberate short runs, this is new. So the lawmakers, they're guiding us now in terms of a deliberate short run and what is the criteria, or how do we judge a deliberate short run. So they tell us we will judge a short run to be deliberate if batters, they take more than one run and at least one of those batters deliberately did not make good the ground at the end. And the emphasis on deliberately. So they turn for a second, or they can turn for a third. Let's use they turn for a second, and at least one of those batters deliberately didn't make good the ground. They turned for a second and deliberately turned. The law sees that as a deliberate short run. The law also guides us and tell us, umpires, you need to decide whether you think the run is deliberate or not. There are times where the batters may decide to abandon an attempted run. If that is the case, you won't see that as deliberate, but it's you for the umpires to decide. And if you decide it is deliberate, you you then need to call and signal the deliberate short run. So what is the punishment for a deliberate short run? Firstly, as soon as it happened, as soon as either of the umpires sees a batter deliberately ran short, you need to call and signal short run. Then what else do you need to do? Disallow all runs to the batting side. If they ran 2 or 3 or 4 or even 6, no runs to be added to the batting side. If there was a no ball or wide, okay, that to count. That's a penalty. That that to count. 5 penalty runs will be given to the fielding side. We need to inform everyone, captain of the fielding side, as soon as possible, captain of the batting side. And then part of the punishment also is the fielding captain will now decide which of the batters at the wicket will face the next delivery. This is part of the punishment. This is new that the lawmakers added to the law, that they give the power now because one of the batters cheated. They deliberately run short. This is unfair. They try to get back on strike. So now part of the punishment is the lawmakers now allows the fielding captain to decide. Okay? It has now been unfair play, and part of the punishment is they can decide whichever batter they feel should face the next delivery. They have that power. We, the umpires, will go to the fielding captain and ask him which of the two batters do you want to face. But this occurs, this is part of the punishment, if there was a deliberate short run. When it comes to boundaries, in terms of identifying and marking the boundaries, preferably do you mark the boundary white line or by an object on the ground like a rope. And if you do mark the boundary by a white line, the edge nearest to the line, nearest to the edge of the line, nearest to the pitch, that will be the boundary. And not always do you have a line or a rope. The law allows for flags or posts or boards. And if you are using flags or posts or boards, they are there merely just to highlight the position of the line, and they must be placed beyond the boundary and is not seen as being the boundary itself. Let's look at by using the diagram, seeing how the law works. If there is a line or fence, the inside edge of the line or the fence, that's seen as the boundary. Similarly for a rope, post, flags. That edge nearest to the pitch, inside edge of that line, post or rope or fence, that is seen as the boundary. When it comes to dead ball, there are instances where the umpire needs to call and signal dead ball, and there are instances where the ball automatically becomes dead. Let's look at a few instances where the umpire needs to, where the ball automatically becomes dead. So something will happen, and according to the law, the ball automatically is dead. What are those instances? As soon as the ball is finally settled, the ball is automatically dead. So what is finally settled? We'll get to it in the next on the next slide. But for now, as soon as the ball is finally settled, ball automatically dead. As soon as a boundary is scored, ball automatically dead. As soon as a batter is dismissed, ball automatically dead. Ball gets trapped between bat and person of the batter or between items of their clothing, ball automatically dead. Ball lodges in the clothing or equipment of a batter or the clothing of an umpire, ball automatically dead. Ball also automatically dead if a player returning without permission touches the ball or illegal fielding took place, ball automatically dead. Ball automatically dead as soon as the ball touches the protective helmet that was um, put by the fielding side behind the keeper. As soon as the ball touches the ball automatically becomes dead. And lastly, ball automatically dead as soon as the game is uh, uh, I mentioned earlier that when is the ball finally settled? The ball is finally settled as soon as it's in the hand or hands of any fielder, or the ball is stationary on the ground, and the bowler's umpire feels that the ball is no longer in play. So finally settled. This is up for the bowler's umpire. They can UC can decide if they feel as soon as the ball is in the hand of any fielder. And the law then just emphasizes who decides whether the ball is finally settled. The umpires, they need to make that call. Not for fielders, fielding captain, batters, umpires. They decide whether the ball is finally settled or not. The law wants the bowler's end umpire, to call over all time after six valid balls are bowled. But before calling over all time, you first need to wait for the ball to be dead. And only once the ball is dead, now you can call over and all time. I mentioned earlier that there are ways that the ball automatically becomes dead, and we looked at those instances. Let's look at a few instances where the umpire needs to call and signal dead ball. So, intervening in case of unfair play, ball, you before going to intervene, first call and signal dead ball. It stops anything from happening after you call it and signal dead ball. If there's a possible serious injury to any player or umpire, you immediately call and signal dead ball. But emphasis on it's your judgment call, but if it's a serious injury, you think it's a possible serious injury, you call and signal dead ball immediately. If you do decide to go and consult your colleague for whatever reason, before going to consult, call and signal dead ball. If one or both bails falls from the striker's wicket without the balls falling without the intervention of any player or the equipment, before the striker's opportunity playing at the ball, call and signal dead ball. If the bowler drops the ball accidentally before delivering it, call and signal dead ball. These are a few instances where umpire needs to call and signal dead ball. When does the ball stop to be dead or ceases to be dead? the ball ceases to be dead, or the ball becomes alive, if I can put it another way, but the ball ceases to become dead, or it comes into play or comes alive when the bowler starts their run up. When do they start their run up? As soon as they take that first step. As soon as the bowler starts their run up, ball ceases to be dead. Or if there's no run up, as soon as they start their bowling action, ball ceases to be dead. No ball, we're going to focus on the feet and what the law sees as a fair delivery in terms of the feet. Let's start with the back foot. What conditions needs to be met when it comes to the back foot, and which crease goes to the back foot with the back foot. So firstly, the crease that you need to look at when it comes to the back foot is the return crease. And the law wants the back foot to land within, and it should not be touching the return crease. And if it is touching the return crease, you need to call and signal no ball. When it comes to the front foot, which crease goes with the front foot? The popping crease goes with the front foot. And the law wants the front foot to land with some part of that foot, whether grounded or raised, to be either behind the popping crease or on the same side of the imaginary line joining the two middle stumps. And if it's not the case, you need to call and signal a no ball. Let's look at a few picks just to illustrate how the law works. This is the right arm bowler bowling over the wicket. Let's start with the front foot. Which crease goes with the front foot? The popping crease goes with the front foot. Is the part of the front foot behind the back edge of the popping crease? Yes, there is. So front foot, no problem. We're happy. Back foot. Is the back foot touching the return crease? Yes, it is. That's why it's a no ball. Front foot. There is part of the front foot behind the back edge of the popping crease, so we're happy with the front foot. Is the back foot touching the return crease? No, it's not. And that's why this is a fair delivery. Back foot needs to touch. Even though you can see in the pic, the back foot is in the air over the return crease, but it's not touching the return crease. As long as it's not touching that return crease, it's a fair delivery. This is a left arm bowler bowling around the wicket. Let's start with the back foot. Which crease goes with the back foot? The return crease goes with the back foot. So is the back foot touching the return crease? No, it's not. So we're happy with the back foot. Which crease goes with the front foot? The popping crease goes with the front foot. What question do we ask ourselves? Is the part of the front foot whether grounded or raised behind the back edge of the popping crease? Yes, there is. That's why this is a legal delivery. Again, left arm bowler bowling around. Let's start with the front foot. There is part of the front foot behind the back edge of the popping crease, so we're happy with the front foot. Is the back foot touching that return crease? Yes, it is. That's why this is a no ball. Back foot we're happy with because it's not touching the return crease. Front foot is the part of the front foot whether grounded or raised behind the back edge of the popping crease? Yes, there is. That's why this is a fair delivery. Back foot we're happy with. It's not touching the return crease. Front foot is the part of the front foot whether grounded or raised behind the back edge of the popping crease. No, there's not. That's why this is a no ball. Back foot not touching the return crease. Happy. Front foot is the part of the front foot behind the back edge of the popping crease. No, there's not. That's why no ball. Back foot we're happy with, not touching the return crease. Front foot, this front foot in this pic is raised, but the law allows for a front foot to be raised. Is the part of the front foot whether grounded or raised behind the back edge of the popping crease? Yes, there is. Fair delivery. Back foot happy, not touching the return crease. Front foot, it is raised, but there's no part of the front foot behind the back edge of the popping crease. That's why this is a no ball. I mentioned earlier the law wants the front foot to be on the same side of the imaginary line joining the two middle stumps. So if this is a left arm bowler bowling over the wicket, look where that front foot is landing. So this front foot is on the other side of the imaginary line joining the two middle stumps. So the law sees this as a no ball because this left arm bowler is now not bowling anymore over the wicket. He or she is now seen as per the law bowling around the wicket. That's why we're calling that a no ball. When it comes to ball bouncing more than once, or rolling along the ground, or landing off the pitch, the law only wants the ball to bounce once before reaching the popping crease. It's only allowed to bounce once. If it bounces more than once, and emphasis on more than once, before reaching the popping crease, you need to intervene as the umpire by calling and signaling no ball. Law only allows the ball to bounce once. If it bounces more than once before reaching the popping crease, you need to call and signal no ball. Or if a ball that was delivered starts rolling along the ground towards the striker before reaching the popping crease, you need to intervene as the umpire. And how do you intervene? You intervene by calling and signaling no ball. And then lastly, the law wants the ball to first land or subsequently bounces, whether wholly or partially, off the pitch. If the ball goes or lands wholly or partially off the pitch before reaching the line of the striker's wicket, where's the line reaching the line of the striker's wicket? That is the bowling crease. The stumps are pitched or put in the bowling crease. So if the ball first lands wholly or partially off the pitch before reaching the striker's wicket or the bowling crease, you need to call and signal no ball. When it comes to wide ball, and this is judging wides in modern cricket, like Test match as an example, the in T20 or 50 over cricket, there's a totally different way to judge wides. But in modern cricket, like a 5-day Test match or a 3-day a game or 4-day game, the law guides us in telling us how do we judge wides in a modern game. You need to judge it if it passes wide of the striker and that striker standing in a normal batting position. So that's the criteria that we use. The law further guides us in terms of what is the definition, the definition of passing wide of the striker. The definition of passing wide of the striker is the ball needs to be within reach of the striker, and the striker needs to be able to hit the ball of the means of a normal cricket shot. Your cover drive, your cut shot, your hook shot. Those are just a few normal cricket shot. So if it's within reach and the batter can hit it by the means of a normal cricket shot, you won't go wide. But if it's so wide and the batter is not able to hit it by the means of a normal cricket shot, you will call or judge that delivery to be wide, and you'll call and signal wide. We'll see in the next slide in terms of calling and signaling when you actually call it, but we'll get there in the next slide. This is new. The lawmakers added this to the law to under the wide law. The law they now tell us that we will judge the ball to be wide if after landing it passes or would have passed over head height of the striker standing upright at the popping crease. So if the ball goes above head height of the striker standing upright at the popping crease, the law now tell us we need to call and signal wide ball. In terms of calling and signaling wide, so when do we call it? Don't be in a hurry to call it too early. Law guides us and tell us wait for the ball to pass the striker's wicket before calling and signaling wide ball. Don't call it too quickly. First, wait for it to pass the striker's wicket before calling and signaling wide ball. Even though technically it's already wide as soon as the bowler enters their delivery stride, but that's technically when it's wide. But in terms of verbally calling it, and you need to verbally call it out loud, wait till the ball passes the striker's wicket before calling it. As soon as a wide is bowled, that ball is not one of the valid balls of the over and needs to be re-bowled. Can you be dismissed of a wide? Yes, you can be dismissed of a wide. In total, there are 9 modes of how you can be dismissed. But as soon as wide is called, only 4 of those modes are applicable. and they are hit wicket. So if your wide is bowled and you hit your wicket, you can be given out. You can be given out obstructing the field from a wide. You can be run out of a wide. And lastly, you can be stumped off a wide. So as soon as wide is called, these are the only four ways that a batter can be dismissed. When it comes to fielders' absence and substitutes, let's start with substitutes. When will the umpire allow a substitute? We will allow a substitute if we, the umpires, are satisfied that a fielder is injured or ill and that this injury or illness happened during this particular game. And if that is the case, a fielder is injured or ill, we'll allow a substitute. We'll also allow a substitute for wholly acceptable reasons. What powers does the substitute have? Very limited powers. Substitute technically can only field. They're not allowed to bowl. They're not allowed to bat. They're not allowed to captain the side. The substitute they're allowed to keep, but if they want to be a wicket keeper, we, the umpires, need to give permission. When it comes to fielder absent or leaving the field of play, the law guides us by telling us a player briefly going outside the field of play, we will not see that fielder as being absent from the field of play or having left the field of play. Example of this, you often find players signing autographs. They quickly go to the boundary edge to sign a few autographs. The law sees this as the fielder not leaving the field of play. But the law wants that fielder that quickly went to sign a few autographs, no issue with that. But as soon as the ball comes into play, the law wants that fielder to be back inside the field at the instant that the ball is delivered. As soon as the bowler releases the ball, that fielder needs to be within the boundary. So what happens if a fielder fails to take the field of play at the start of the game or leaves the field? Let's use the example, fielder leaves the field of play. I'll go through the theoretical points of the law, but I'll also use a practical example to show you how the law works. So let's say our game started at 10 o'clock. At 10:15, the player comes to you and say, umpire, I've pulled my hammy slightly. Please, may I go off to go to the physio to get some treatment? The umpire will take out his or her notebook. They'll write down in the notebook, let's just say the player's name is Gabby. So Gabby going off at 10:15, hamstring. Before Gabby is allowed back onto the field, Gabby needs the consent of one of the umpires. Why is consent so important? We need to know when Gabby comes back. Why is it important for us to know before Gabby comes back? And we'll get to that in point 3. So practically what will happen is, so in point 1, Gabby left at 10:15. At 10:30, Gabby waves to you at the boundary, Umpy, I'm ready to come back on. You, the umpire, will wave to Gabby to come back on. We will then take out our notebook and write down Gabby back at 10:30. So what we will now do as umpires is we will calculate how long Gabby was off the field. And in my example, Gabby left at 10:30, excuse me, came back at 10:30. So Gabby off for 15 minutes, 15 minutes. So now the law wants, before Gabby is allowed to bowl, Gabby needs to wait 15 minutes before she's allowed to bowl again. So Gabby needs to field for 15 minutes. So when Gabby comes back onto the field, I will tell Gabby, you were off for 15 minutes. You only allowed to bowl at 10:45. So that's penalty time. Gabby needs to serve penalty time before she's allowed to bowl. There is a max penalty time as per the law. Again, emphasis on the law. There are some playing conditions that might differ. But according to the law, The maximum amount of penalty time that a player can serve is 90 minutes. Penalty time doesn't disappear. We player needs to serve their penalty time. We carry it over to the next innings, to the next day. Players sometimes go off the field often. Every time they go off, we will write down, we will add up all the penalty time, and before they allow to bowl, they need to serve the penalty time before they allow to bowl. It doesn't disappear. Scheduled intervals, excuse me, scheduled intervals, and we covered them earlier, like your lunch, your drinks, your change of innings, your tea, to name four examples. Those intervals you will not add it to any penalty time that a player might owe us. You will also not subtract it from any penalty time that a player might owe us. Next law is the wicket keeper. When it comes to the position of the wicket keeper, the law wants the keeper to stay behind the wicket, to remain wholly behind the wicket at the striker's end from the instant of the bowler's delivery, from the instant that the bowler releases the ball. Keeper needs to stay behind the wicket at the striker's end. Unless, and there are three exceptions, as soon as the ball touches the bat or person of the striker, the wicket keeper then can come in front of the stumps. Otherwise, keeper needs to stay behind the stumps from the instant of the bowler's delivery. Second instance, when the keeper can come in front of the stumps. As soon as the ball passes the striker's wicket, the law allows for the keeper to come in front of the stumps. And then lastly, as soon as the striker attempts a run, excuse me, the law allows the striker, the wicket keeper, to come in front of the stumps. Other than these three bullet points, keeper needs to remain wholly behind the wicket from the instant of the bowler's delivery, unless these three instances happen. And in the event keeper's not wholly behind the wicket, how do the umpires intervene? The striker's end umpire will intervene by calling and signaling no ball. When it comes to appeals, in terms of the timing of the appeals, there's a window period for when the appeal is valid. So the appeal is valid, or the window period closes as soon as the bowler begins his or her run up for the next ball or their bowling action, and before time has been called. So there's quite a long period for an appeal to be valid. It's valid up until the bowler takes that first step to bowl the next delivery. If there's an appeal before the bowler takes that first step, that appeal is still valid. And time should not have been called. As soon as time is called, the appeal is not valid anymore. Even a call of over doesn't invalidate an appeal. As long as the bowler does not start the next over or time has not been called, that appeal is still valid. And in terms of appealing, how's that? Covers all ways of being out. We now get to a few of the dismissal laws. I'm not going to do all of them. There's a few of them. I do have a few animation videos. Let's start with the court law. Let's look at the animation video.
Fair catch. A catch shall be considered fair if the ball is held in a fielder's hand, hugged to the body of the catcher, or accidentally lodges in his or her clothing, helmet, or protective equipment. But of course, this being cricket, it isn't always that simple. If a fielder deliberately uses an item of clothing to try to catch the ball, it is not out, and 5 penalty runs are awarded to the batting side. However, the ball can be caught after it has deflected off the other batsman, an umpire, another fielder, including off a helmet being worn, or even if it lodges in a fielder's helmet. Perhaps the main criterion for a catch to be considered fair is that the ball must not touch the ground before being caught. Here, for example, the ball does not touch the ground even though the hand holding it does so in effecting the catch. This is a fair catch. And then there is the question of catches near the boundary. This is such an interesting subject that we've given it a film all of its own. To catch up on everything to do with catching, simply refer to Law 33 in the Blue Book.
So when it comes in terms of when a striker is dismissed scored, how many runs scored? 0 runs scored if a striker is dismissed out court. Even if they completed 2 runs while that ball is still in the air, those 2 runs will not be scored. Any runs for penalties, that will stand, but the runs that batters completed will not be scored. Who's boss in terms of modes of dismissals? Bowled is always boss. Bowled is number 1. Who's number 2? Caught is number 2. When it comes to hit wicket, how is the striker out hit wicket? Striker's out wicket after the bowlers enter their delivery stride and the striker puts the wicket down in any course of action taken by the striker in preparing the delivery. The striker also put the wicket down and they putting the wicket down is a result of any movement that they're busy with while they're trying to recover their balance after receiving the delivery. This is new. The lawmakers added this to the law this year. So while if there's movement and they're trying to recover their balance after receiving the delivery and they put the wicket down, they out hit wicket. In setting off for the first run, immediately, and emphasis on immediately after playing at the ball, out hit wicket. Also, out hit wicket in setting off for that first run immediately after the striker has the opportunity of playing at the ball. And if they try to lawfully guard their wicket, whether it's a second stroke or third stroke or fourth stroke, and they hit the wicket, out hit wicket. Leg before. Let's first look at the video and then we'll go through summarize those points, how you can be dismissed hit wicket.
Leg before wicket. LBW. LBW is a little like the offside rule in football. Many people claim to know it, but how many people really do? Our handy checklist means that whether you find yourself umpiring an international test match or the kids on the beach, your reputation for fairness will remain intact. There are 5 basic criteria to consider. The batsman is out, leg before wicket, if 1. The bowler bowls a ball that isn't a no ball, unlike this poor fellow. 2. The ball, if it is not intercepted on the full, pitches in line between wicket and wicket or on the offside of the batsman's wicket. It cannot be out if the ball pitches outside the line of the leg stump. 3. The ball hits the batsman either full pitch or after pitching and before he hits it with his bat. 4. This is where it gets a bit more complicated. If the batsman was making a genuine attempt to play the ball, the point of impact must be between wicket and wicket for LBW to be an option. However, if the batsman has made no genuine attempt to play the ball, the contact must either be between wicket and wicket or outside the line of the off stump. 5. This is the crucial part. But for the interception by the batsman, the ball would have gone on to hit the stumps.
Run out or a stumping at the striker's end, and the striker's end umpire gives the batter out, then that signal will be made by the striker's end umpire. the scorers will be looking at the striker's end umpire when there's an appeal directed at the striker's end umpire. If, however, there is a short run that occurs at the striker's end, the striker's end umpire, while the ball is in play, as and when the short run occurs, they will signal short run. But when the delivery is complete, when the ball is dead and the batters have completed running, then the bowler's end umpire will make the final signal of short run to the scorers. Okay. Range asks, can someone in South Africa pay for me? I am in Zimbabwe. How much is it if it's allowed? Range, if you've got a friend or a colleague or a family member in South Africa, you can pay 300 South African rands using the Standard Bank current account bank account details listed by Abdullah in the message under yours. Okay, so yes, even though you are not in South Africa, if you have a friend, colleague, or a relative in South Africa who has a South African bank account, they can pay on your behalf 300 South African rands. Renee asks, do you need practical umpiring experience in order to do level 2? So Renee, if you want to join an umpires association after you have passed level 1, please do so. We encourage you to do so because you will only improve as an umpire if you are on the field umpiring matches. So once you have joined an umpires association in South Africa and you want to write level 2, you need to get approval from the executive committee of the Umpires Association in South Africa that you are a member of as to when you can write the level 2 exam. Okay, so certain umpires associations around the country require a certain amount of practical on-field experience before allowing you to write Cricket South Africa's level 2 exam. But for those of you who will do level 2 with us online, you will be allowed to write whether or not you have any on-field experience. But for those of you who write the exam with us online, the Cricket South Africa level 2 exam, yes, you are writing the Cricket South Africa level 2 exam, but because we don't have your practical experience or we don't know what your practical experience is, you will not get a Cricket South Africa level 2 certificate. If you pass, you will get a Western Province Cricket Umpires Association level 2 certificate, but it will state that you have written a Cricket South Africa level 2 exam. But if you want a Cricket South Africa level 2 certificate, Renee, you've got to join a Cricket South Africa Umpires Association after passing level 1. And then you need to ask your executive committee how much experience you need before they allow you to write the Cricket South Africa level 2 umpiring exam. I hope that answers your question, Renee. Next question from Gautam. Will there be questions like this half completed in the Cricket South Africa level 1 exam? So Gautam, with the updated laws of cricket, we had the opportunity to revamp the Cricket South Africa level 1 online exam. The 69 questions that were there 6 months ago or even 3 months ago, we changed some of them, we removed some of them, we replaced some of them. For all of them, we went through the wording and we made sure that the wording wasn't weird, difficult, unnecessarily complicated. Okay, we've tried to make the exam as easy as possible in terms of the language used and no tricks in terms of half sentences or incomplete sentences. So even the true or false questions, if you know your laws, you will be able to answer them easily. There won't be any questions where you need to ask yourself, oh, is this sentence complete? Is this sentence half truth or half false? It shouldn't be as cryptic as some of the questions in the introduction to umpiring exam. Kraspos asks, at what point do we register for Umpire Universe? Kraspos, very important, you will not register for Umpires Universe. You will make a payment anytime between now and Wednesday 28th of August, Wednesday 26th of August, 6 p.m. South African time. And as you saw on my database, I enter who has paid, which email address they want their Umpire Universe exam link email sent to. So on Thursday, the 27th of August, I will send that completed sheet with all the names and email addresses of candidates who have paid for the exam. I'm going to send that sheet to Umpires Universe. They will register all of you. They will enroll you to your exam. And in doing the registration and enrollment, they will send automatically an exam link email to you. Okay. Those exam link emails, that is them registering you for the exam. You do not need to register on Umpires Universe's website. You will receive an email with the link to the login page. You will receive your username. You will receive your password. You just need to copy and paste, as I did earlier tonight. Copy and paste your username and your password into the login sheet. Click on sign in, and then you will see your exam in your dashboard. Okay, so please do not go onto Umpires Universe's website yourself and register. No, Umpires Universe will register you, send you your login details, copy and paste them, sign in, start the exam. Range, can we practice these quiz questions on the website? No, unfortunately not, Range. Well, I guess if you do not pass your first attempt, then you can consider your first attempt as a practice. So no, you cannot practice the introduction to umpiring exam. You cannot definitely practice the level 1 umpiring exam. What you can do is the laws of cricket has an app. Okay. Let me just actually, I don't know how to take off the blur, but the laws of cricket has got an app, and there is links on the emails, not the one I sent today, but the emails I sent last week. If you scroll right down to the bottom, you will find links to the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store to download the Laws of Cricket app. And the logo is the blue law book. And on that app, you can find quiz questions that you can practice before the exam. Okay, Bukamoso asks, will we get more attempts? Bukamoso, you've got a maximum of 5 attempts in the 10-day exam window period to achieve the pass mark of 80%. If you fail in your first attempt, I would suggest you don't go immediately back into the exam to reattempt. I would suggest that you take a break, sleep, wake up the next morning, go through the revision slides that Abdullah has just presented this evening. I will be sending a link to download those revision slides tomorrow, along with the link of tonight's lecture recording. And you watch the revision slides, or you go through the revision slides yourself, and then you make your second attempt for the exam. Often, if you try and attempt the exam immediately after you've failed, you will fail again. Okay? I've seen people burning all 5 of their attempts in one day. That is a waste of attempts. You've got 10 days. Take a break, relax, sleep, wake up the next day, study the revision slides, and then try again. And remember, you've got your law book. It's an open book exam, so there's no need for you to try and guess these questions. Those 69 questions, it sounds like a lot, but I can do the level 1 exam in 30 minutes because I'm used to it. I know the questions. Somebody doing the level 1 exam, if they don't check their law book or they don't check any other resources, they can finish the 69 questions in 1 hour. Okay? So if you want to, you can refer quite a few questions. Check the law book, check the presentation, especially the revision slides. You'll find the answers there, and that is the best way to make sure you pass, is use the resources available to you. Next question is from Nadisha. In a follow-on situation, does the team which initiated the follow-on get to bat the 4th innings if the other team passes the deficit of 200? So Abdullah, let's paint a scenario. South Africa bat first. They score 400 runs. Sri Lanka bat second. They score 150 runs. That's a lead of 250. South Africa asks Sri Lanka to bat again. Sri Lanka scores 300 in their second innings. 300 plus 150 gives a total of 450 runs, which is more than South Africa's first innings total of 400. Does South Africa now have the opportunity to bat in the 4th innings to pass Sri Lanka's 450 runs?
So yes, Tom, to get a result. To get a result, Tom, we need in a 2 innings match, one side needs to have more than the other. So if you add Sri Lanka's total, it adds up to, what did you say? I think 450.
Correct.
And South Africa only scored 400.
Correct.
So now there's a deficit of 50 that South Africa still needs to score. So yes, South Africa will have to go bat in their second innings, and they need to score 51 runs to win the game, Tom. Over.
Thanks, Dula. Perfect. So Princewell asks, on the answer that I just gave about how to get a CSA level 2 certificate, is it possible to get approval from the Umpires Association in Nigeria to basically approve or verify that Princewell has got X amount of umpiring experience so that Princewell can write the Cricket South Africa level 2 exam and get Cricket South Africa's level 2 certificate instead of Western Province Cricket Umpires Association level 2 certificate? Princewell, no, unfortunately not. It is a Cricket South Africa resolution that was put in place in July 2025 that only umpires umpiring in South Africa and who are members of an umpires association in South Africa can get a Cricket South Africa level 2 and level 3 umpiring certificate. So yes, we know you guys are umpiring in Nigeria, and we can get confirmation from various people that you have umpired X amount of games, but Cricket South Africa doesn't want that. They want umpires in South Africa who are members of associations in South Africa to get level 2 Cricket South Africa certificates. So in short, if you are not umpiring in South Africa and you're not a member of any association in South Africa, you cannot get a Cricket South Africa Level 2 certificate. You cannot get a Cricket South Africa Level 3 certificate. Princewell had already created an Umpires Universe account 2 weeks ago. Will it be a problem, Princewell? Think it will. What you will find is there is no exam in your account. I will ask Umpires Universe if they enroll you using your email address for the Cricket South Africa Level 1 exam, will it end up in your account that you created? I'm not sure. But yeah, that definitely was not the process that I described throughout our course. I hope it doesn't cause problems. I will find out for you. Renee says the Laws of Cricket app only works for older versions of Android. Renee, I advise you get yourself a Apple device. No issues downloading the Laws of Cricket app on any Apple device. I will leave it there. I will ask if there are any last questions, comments, feedback. Ram, you've got your hand up. Please unmute your microphone. The floor is yours.
Hi, Tom and Abdullah. So I don't know the reason why, but the meeting chat hasn't been available for me throughout this entire session. So a lot of my doubts throughout the session, I was not able to type in the chat box. So I'm sorry, I have to ask all of them right now continuously. So sorry in advance if I take a few few minutes of time. But yeah, for some reason the chat didn't work for me to type in anything. So I just noted all of them and I just wanted to verbally ask them now.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so first thing regarding in one of the slides, I think it was point number 18.5, the last point in green during the short balls, I mean short runs, that law. Uh, I didn't get the last point in that there's something mentioned about incoming batter or non-striker, striker. So that part exactly I didn't understand. So that was the first thing which I wanted to ask.
Okay, so pretty simple, Ram. If there's a deliberate short run, and I'm just going to go to that slide. If there's a deliberate short run, then the fielding captain will decide which batter faces the next delivery.
And what was it mentioned regarding incoming batter? So is that if there was a run out and even then fielding captain can decide who will be on strikers and then non-strikers? Is that correct?
I'm just trying to find that out, Ram. I don't think it speaks about the incoming batter on short runs.
I mean, there was a point in the last of the slide. It was in green. It was highlighted in green, and there was a mention regarding incoming batter about something there. I think either.
Yeah, you're right. There it is. It says including the incoming batter if applicable.
So that part exactly I didn't understand. So is it saying even if run out happened, it's still fielding captain has the power to decide uh, that thing? Like
Yes,
irrespective of out or not out, fielding captain has this exclusive power. Is
that's
that how
correct.
we should understand?
That's correct. If there's a deliberate short run and if a batter was dismissed, the fielding captain will decide who faces the next delivery. If there was a deliberate short run and there was no dismissal, The fielding captain will decide who faces the next delivery.
And this is even if it's the last ball of the over or not, it doesn't matter, correct?
Doesn't matter, right?
Um, Tom, then like another thing that I wanted to ask was like last in the during last class I asked the questions that you said you'll get back during this session, right? So I just wanted to check if you had any update on that.
Yeah, so one of the questions you asked is if there is a timed out dismissal, what ball is that timed out dismissal linked to? Or if there is a run out of the non-striker and the delivery is not bowled by the bowler, which ball will that dismissal be linked to? So if there is a dismissal on ball 4.2, let's say there is a bowled and then the incoming batter takes longer than 3 minutes and there's an appeal for uh, timed out, then and it's given out, then 4.2 will have two dismissals. So you'll see 4.2 wicket and 4.2 wicket. And then the next delivery will be 4.3 when the ball is actually bowled. Similar theory applies to if there is a run out of the non-striker by the bowler for leaving the crease early. So you don't go to the next ball. The previous ball has two dismissals. I hope that answers your question, Ram.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Yes. So same ball can have two dismissals in that case, correct?
That's correct. The scorers will put a note to mention that it didn't all happen in one motion because obviously the ball becomes dead when a wicket falls. Um, but it happened afterwards because there was a timeout or it was the next run up when the non-striker was run out by the bowler.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, and one more thing, Tom, like regarding what you were mentioning about the level 2 course, like you said that it's specifically for those associated with Cricket South Africa, and they have that validity from signed off from the board. All those points you mentioned, right? So for people in India like me, so if we enroll for the level 2 course, and how it will be applicable for people like me who are in India? So how would that course certification and the course, how would that work?
So Ram, you would still join the course, you would still write the exam online. You will, if you pass, you won't get a Cricket South Africa Level 2 umpiring certificate. You'll get a Western Province Cricket Umpires Association Level 2 certificate. It will write that you passed the Cricket South Africa Level 2 exam. I hope that answers your question.
Okay. All right. And for those who are in South Africa, like some of my friends are and like that, if right now they don't have the experience mandated by the Cricket South Africa board, and they will also be given this Western Province certificate. But after few years, when they actually get the sufficient experience that's mandated by the board, will the certificate then be automatically converted to Cricket South Africa level 2 certificate, or would they have to take an certification exam or the process that time again to have the official CSA certificate?
We haven't got to that point yet, Ram. If and when we do get that scenario, then it will be discussed. I would think that they don't have to write the exam again, but I don't make the rules, so I can't say.
Okay. Um, I think that's it, Tom. I think most of it is so. Thank you.
You're welcome, Ram. Going back into the chat box from Renee, thank you to both Tom and Dula for an incredibly interesting course. I've learned so much about a game that I've been a fan of for over 40 years. You're great stewards of the spirit of cricket. Thank you, Renee, for your kind words. Stick with us, and you never know where this beautiful game will take you. David says, very well, could we have all the registration details and bank accounts sent to our emails, including timelines? David, every email that I send, whether it's a lecture reminder, whether it's a lecture recording email, if you scroll to the bottom of the email, it's got the link to the PayPal account that people outside of South Africa can pay to. It's got the standard bank account that people in South Africa can pay to. It's got the deadlines. All the detail is in there. Alma Low says, thank you, Tom and Abdullah, for your guidance and love for cricket. Good luck, everyone, with the exam. You're welcome, Alma. Nadisha says, thank you to both Tom and Abdullah. Nadisha, you're welcome. I hope to see you in the Seychelles soon. Range says, in the introduction lecture, you mentioned that at my own cost, I can join Western Province Cricket Umpires Association and come and get games to umpire. Can I get the level 2 South Africa certificate then? Range, you need to be a full-time umpire in South Africa for at least one full season from October until March for you to qualify to write the Cricket South Africa Level 2 exam, and you need to write it in person, in hand, not online, for you to get a Cricket South Africa Level 2 certificate. So you cannot just come for 2 weeks to umpire 4 or 5 games and then write the exam online. You need to have at least a full season in South Africa umpiring for you to get a Cricket South Africa Level 2 umpiring certificate. Michael says, thank you. See you at level 2, my leader. Michael, I am happy to see how confident you are for passing the level 1 exam. I'm sure you both will. Kapil says, thanks to both of you. Amir Ali says, thank you. Ladies and gents, thank you very much for all your interaction and your attendance over the last 7 lectures. I would like to ask all of you who are still with us to put on your cameras so that when we see you on television, we can recognize that umpire was in our course and now they are world famous umpiring a test match at Lord's. So thank you very much for all your attendance and your interaction over the last 3.5 weeks. We wish you all the best for your exam. We wish you all the best for your umpiring futures. And I'm sure you will all do well. Remember what I said? Keep up the hard work, and you never know where this beautiful game will take you. Thank you very much. Good luck and goodbye.